If your mother is discovered dead, hanging by her neck in suicide, and everyone around you commiserates, and you disagree because you think it might have been the best thing that ever happened to you to finally be rid of this very difficult influence in your life, and I'm speaking of reality, there's no room for value judgment here, is there? I'm not going to say, you should feel remorse. This disruption of your life. No. I'm going to, at this point, listen and try to adjust and perhaps help remove guilt. In other words, values come from inside here in any individual. Yours don't count in a consultation when you get to that stage. Your client is going to make those value judgments, and you have to understand and appreciate how and why, and reflect them. We cannot editorialize. We simply can't. Astrology can very easily help us identify our values. Astrology can help us adjust them by understanding our reaction to events. What happens in astrology is you look into the past and see certain reactions by asking questions to certain events that corresponded to certain measurements. You start to see this relationship within time through development. And then afterwards, you start to see that same set of measurements of grouping in the future. The odds are very high that the same reactions are going to take place at a different level. And what you have to do at that point is check out the changing values between that time in the past and the time in the future, and how the development is going to occur. Look at your own reaction system and evaluation of value ascriptions to sex, how they've changed from when you were 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50, 60. Interesting, isn't it? It happens with everything. As our planets, our horoscopic layout, that map, that blueprint, like a slinky, grows on a spiral of maturation on an axis of time. Money doesn't mean much to a Tibetan monk. So those values of the second house, for instance, change. Very important. Some thoughts about time, please. What an intangible, inexorable, subjective dimension time is. And yet it is the most important dimension, in my opinion, within astrology. We have in our languages a time heals all wounds. Does it also heal all joys? We have, well, there's always a next time, isn't there? Or, I don't have enough time. Or, man, we got to kill some time. Or, there's a time for everything. Or, this too shall pass. Astrology's greatest strength, perhaps, is our grasp of time. It's not the control of it, but the measurement of time and its substance. And I would like to say, if I were starting an advanced panel, I'd just say astrology is time. Interesting thought if you want to get off on that. A beginner's question often is, how do these symbols change? Now, I've got a birth horoscope here, but that was way back in 1935. Now, what am I going to do? Haven't they, they've kept moving, haven't they? Don't they continue? What does that mean? Good question for a beginner. That is the birth of cycles. These waves that become terribly important in understanding development. Remember that book Passages some years ago? It was so famous. That's an astrology book. Sure, without the astrology references, without a doubt. The public loves this. The reason the public loves this kind of stuff is because it's so valid, it's so real, it's everywhere, it's known. Everybody in this room between the ages of 29 and 30 had a major change of direction or level in life. There's simply no doubt about it. If you didn't, I'm sorry, it's not my fault. If we get a tremendous opportunity observation in a life, the chances are the transit, the changing position of Jupiter in relation to the certain points in the natal horoscope is going to be involved, and then you can start to project onto that Jupiterian cycles of 12 years, or sub-cycles of 6, or mini-cycles of 3 years. You can see that we have lots of problems when we get to age 42, 43-ish, right in there. That's because there are a lot of cycles that accumulate for everyone. That with regard to time, where we have developmental pressures that I like to call second adolescence, for technical reasons that will become clear to you when you grow in astrology and learn this stuff. So time is terribly, terribly important. It's the refuge and strength of astrological insight. It's the most reliable thing I think we have, the most reliable dimension. It's something beyond meaning. It's inexorable. It's there. The evidence speaks. The challenges beckon. Some thoughts about relationships as we close. Mozart used to employ the sound of silence exquisitely well. There has to be one to have the other. Music and non-music, silence and sound, day and night. You can't see the light of the sun, because if you look at it, you'll burn your retina. So you see it reflected upon the moon. And indeed, the sunlight is projected to and reflected from all the planets in the solar system. And that's what the poetry of the horoscope and its placements is all about. They used to call aspects long ago in Middle Eastern astrology translations of light, things like that. At the Sistine Chapel, we have a relationship like day and night. We have God and the hand of Adam touching in the ceiling. When we breathe in, when we inspire, inspirare, we take in and we have to give out. And that's how we set up the two hemispheres of the horoscope. We touch to make things happen. The Zen practice of clapping with one hand. You can't do it until you reach out and touch someone else's hand, and there's a crack. And somehow it's a drama, a tie that is set up. It's the I, it's the thou, it's the Kierkegaardian philosophy. We help ourselves through others. Half the horoscope orientates itself from other people. When we have our fifth zone, our fifth house, we learn to say that it's love given, and the fifth house from the other person, from the seventh coming around, and beginners, you'll get this soon, is the 11th, and they're opposite each other, so it's the other person's love coming to us. It's what I expect in order to give, and it's this back and forth, this incredible building of values beyond controls. Building of values free of controls, but absorbing necessary guidelines through a relationship within time. We help others directly. We help them help themselves. We end up helping God do the job. For example, the 4th and 10th axis, the 4th house down at the bottom and the 10th house up